When I first started photography, I could have all the right gear on me, I could have wonderful light and great subjects, but for a long time my photos still felt all over the place, unorganized, messy, unprofessional. And it was mainly because one fundamental thing was slipping through the net for way too many years. I later realized that when I went out to take photos, I was far too focused on just my subject and I was ignoring the objects around it. So in today's video, I want to show you some examples of how intentional placement can change photos and help you take better images everywhere you go. So I'm going to jump on the computer behind me here. We'll go through a few of my images with some different examples, and then after that I've also got some select images from a fantastic photo book to show you as well. First image for this video, this is from the Scotland video that I made late last year, and obviously no secret, we've got the big castle up here, which is the main subject of the image. We've got a lot of foreground detail down here, and then this rock formation that's sitting in the water. And the first thing I didn't like after I shot this image was the lack of spacing here between the edge of the rock formation and the edge of the cliff there. So simply by coming across to the left a few steps and bringing my camera up higher to shoot essentially the same frame, we can get something like this now, which brings this big boulder down here into play, which I absolutely love in the water there. And doing that also gives this ocean here something to wrap around and create something visually pleasing down there. We obviously lose some foreground detail, but we've still got some, so I'm happy with that. And that slight tweak there creates this space. It's small, but there is space now between the rock formation and the edge of the cliffs. And we also bring in a much bigger gap here. So if I just swap back to that first photo again, you'll see the water kind of gets cut off here, whereas in this example, it runs right underneath and up to there, which is the bottom of the castle, which I really like. And I should say, just to clarify, I'm not showing these examples because I think they're perfect photos. These are just the ones I picked out from the top of my head that had good points in this video for the topic. So next example, and this one again is from the Scotland series that I did, and we'll just go quickly with this one because it's very similar to the last one. So if I'd have shot this image any lower than what I have done here, this rock line here would come up and sit in front of this, which I don't really want. It all kind of blends in together then, and then you've just got this huge portion of the image which is feeling like it's pure rock. So noticing this V shape here, I can position this rock nicely within that V, and we also give a nice bit of space for this rock here. And the other thing I like about this is this V shape kind of nicely aligns with the lighthouse in the background. So it's just looking out for these tiny little details that you can shift around and move. Normally it's a camera movement up or down or left or right, and you can create something really nice. Moving on to the next example, this is from the JPEG video that I shot last week. So this is a JPEG image, believe it or not. And dead simple with this one, it's just the cone positioning in this frame. So I don't think necessarily having this cone anywhere else, like over here or anything, would typically ruin the image. But by positioning it within this gap and then also going even deeper and having it within this triangle that's created by the power pole and power line coming down there, I think just shows the intention when it comes to the photographer. So if I was viewing this in a book or on someone's website, I would pick up on that and I'd say, look at that cone that's nicely situated in the gap, in between the gap there as well. And I think tiny details like that just makes such a big difference when it comes to looking at other people's work. And then last little tweak I would say for this image was I tried my best while keeping this cone situated in the middle there to have somewhat even spacing from the edge to the cone and from the edge of this cone to the edge of this frame, just to make it feel a bit more sort of symmetrical and balanced, even though the frame as a whole is not a symmetrical image. Okay, so onto an example where I kind of messed up, but I will say this was a snapshot-esque photograph where I was kind of taking photos quite fast and wasn't paying too much attention. I wasn't trying too hard. Trying to defend myself there, aren't I? But basically this should be no secret. This guy's head is very much being obstructed or overlapping with the boat there. This person's head also comes very close to that boat, and an easy tweak you could make to avoid this again would be to shoot from a little bit higher up, just on your tippy toes, or lift the camera up above your head a little bit in order to aim down and then create space here for all of those heads and bodies to sit unobstructed amongst the water. So you would lose obviously some of this foreground down here, but it's not doing too much to the image anyway, so it's a trade-off worth making in order to not have that overlap. All right, so moving on to this image here, and I think this is another good example of trade-offs you have to make when you're taking these sort of things into consideration. So first of all, I knew I wanted Lindisfarne Castle there to be up on the horizon and over towards the right hand third. So we've got that in place there. We've then got these two boats, one here and one here. And although they're small, I didn't want those boats to be like creeping up from behind one of these foreground boats, or this boat perhaps being like down here. So I've positioned myself so they've got a nice bit of space in between all the foreground boats. But once I had all that lined up, I then have the choice. I can either go wider with my frame, and by doing that, because I was shooting this on a fixed focal length camera, I would have had to step backwards, and that probably would have messed up the composition that I had right here. Or I can cut through this boat here. So the trade-off really for me to keep these two boats here unobstructed and nicely framed was to just end the frame sort of on the edge of that boat. I don't think that necessarily ruins the image. This boat here is also really close to the edge, and given that this is really low down in the left hand third, and we get this balance from detail right down here going right up to here, I think it still results in quite a balanced image. But again, it is a trade-off. Sometimes it's going to be a case of you making that choice of which works out best for the particular photo. In this case, it was more important for me to keep these boats unobstructed and nicely placed than it was to have this fully in the frame. Okay, so next example here, this isn't the image I want to show, but I just wanted to show this one to point out this big cross here, this big stone cross, because moving over to the next image, of course that cross is still present. It's behind the tree here. So knowing that I didn't want that big cross popping out here, or even worse, like kind of coming out from the edge of the tree and just really messing up the frame, was to completely hide it behind this tree here. There is a tiny bit just there and a tiny bit in the branch there, but that was the best move for me at the time, I think, to really simplify this frame down and not have a big stone sort of element coming out here in the branches or anything like that. The other thing I really had to keep my mind on was the branches coming out here, not sort of crossing over in front of the church, which again just makes it feel all a little bit more organized, more intentional than just taking a shot and having those branches overlapping and having a big stone structure coming out here and muddying up the frame. It's nice and simple now. We have this path leading up. We've got a nice space between the gate and the church, and then we have this nice tree. Okay, so one more example before we jump into the photo book that I've got some interesting images to show from. Again, we've got this ruined building, which is the big main subject, and typically years and years ago, I would have been really excited to shoot this. I would have been so tunnel visioned on getting that in a pleasing position that I would have forgot or not noticed what's going on in the background. And what I mean by that is this wall that's sweeping down and then sweeps around the corner here. And what I didn't want was for this wall to like come down here and smack the building, or like come in here and muddy up this area. So all it was really was a case of positioning my building where I wanted it in the frame, and then making small adjustments to have this wall come down over the top of the building so that we get this space here for the green grass to really create a border around this section of the building. So this wall isn't too close to like here or anything like that and blending in. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a few images from Vivian Mayer, street photographer. I won't go into the background of this particular book, but look it up because it's a fantastic book full of incredible images, probably an even better story behind the photographer. All right, so let's take a look at the first image that I wanted to show from this book. And there's absolutely loads of great examples of placement and subject placement and stuff throughout this book, but I've selected a few. And although I'm going to imagine that because this person here is turning around, This guy seems to be walking into the frame. I don't think this was necessarily like intentional in terms of Vivian has gone in and moved these people into a position that looks the most pleasing. However, the reason this image ends up in a book like this from the archives is because of how pleasing this would be against alternatives where perhaps this pleasing layout is not present. So the big thing for this, I would say, is we've got this softer subject slightly out of focus on the left hand side that's creating this look through into all of the people that are in this section of the frame. And then although we do have some overlap in places, this guy's arm is coming down into this person here, this guy's head is sitting between these two people, but it's all so sort of nicely arranged and you can see all of them clearly and none of them look messy. That's what makes this image so strong. So first of all, this isn't point of it, but I wanted to point out how this guy's standing here while the hose pipe's coming out. That's absolutely hilarious. Looks like he's having a massive wee. But what I want to touch on here is obviously this building is not central, and I imagine that's been done intentionally so that this crane here sits nicely within this gap. If you move to the right here in order to center this building, this crane comes across and comes in front of the clock tower, which to me, the trade-off here is that it's better to have an uncentered building and nice spacing where this crane comes up through this gap than it is to just have a centered building and all of this up here look quite messy. Let's move on to another example, and this is more sort of subjects coming and going from frames. In fact, we've got two here. So I'm assuming, obviously I don't know, but I'm assuming that this woman was perhaps walking along here, maybe walking along here and turning around, and Vivian has chosen to press the shutter when she's in between these two twigs or bits of tree that are coming up. The tree's not coming in front of a face or anything like that, and to me that is fantastic object placement. And then again over here we have this guy that is positioned very nicely in between this doorway here. So although the subjects are coming and going and moving throughout the frame, Vivian has still waited in order to get it into the most pleasing place possible. Another really great example of people coming and going from frames and still taking into account objects that surround your subject. So obviously no secret again here, the subject is the guy on the horse. However, taking into account the objects in the rest of the frame, I like to think that Vivian has waited until the guy gets slap bang between these two windows in order to press the shutter. If I was, a beginner photographer and I was being tunnel visioned by the fact that this guy was coming past me on the horse, I'd probably be firing shots off left, right and center in order to just capture the moment. Whereas Vivian, I assume, because this is photographed on film, has stood, waited and looked out for him being in the optimum position between these two windows here, resulting in such a beautiful photograph. This is one of my favorites from this book. Love it. So the overall goal of this video is just to make people aware of these things so that when you go out to take photos, you can be a bit more intentional with the arrangement of your frames, rather than to specifically tell you what is correct or wrong inside of photographs. Because again, like I've said throughout this video, more often than not, especially with busy scenes, there is going to be a trade-off. The more you move your position or your camera position or rearrange objects within your frame, other stuff are going to move around with it. So a lot of the times it's actually up to you to pick which version of that frame you like best. Sometimes it might mean that you need something in an unpleasing position for a stronger element in the frame to take a pleasing position. And sometimes it's the case of having two things cross over but in the most pleasing way possible. So hopefully this video just serves as a thought-provoking reminder to take these things into consideration when you're out composing your own photos, rather than me telling you that you absolutely don't want to do this or you absolutely do want to do this. It all comes down to your final choice when it comes to taking the frame. And I certainly wish that I'd watched a video or read something along these lines when I first started photography. So that was kind of the inspiration behind making this video. But with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.